Hey guys, welcome back to Internet Tomato, where we dive deep into the dark, twisted, and epic lore of Tainted Grail. I shall be your guide to unraveling the mysteries of Avalon. Today, we are continuing our lore series by going over the second Hunt for the Grail and the second expedition's next moves. This video aims to provide a balanced introduction for new players and fans alike, ensuring everyone walks away with more knowledge. Keep in mind that the lore is still developing, as Tainted Grail has games planned for the future to supplement what we know, and things are somewhat subject to change. Also, if you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe, or you might just get turned into a men here. So, let's get into this. Last we left off, we went over the second expedition's genesis. The members scoured Avalon for answers, only to be stonewalled by the major players in the world. They concluded parts of the War of the Three Lords, and then finally, they discovered Arthur's failed resurrection, and then united with Niante, the last survivor of the first expedition. In the Discord, which I'd love for you to join, I asked, what role do you think Arthur will play after his failed resurrection in the board game? Though I had to record this early, so I don't know the results yet, I will say that Kid Childs has a good point. I think I would view it the same way, that with his soul fractured, maybe he is kind of insane, and he still has good inside of him. Only time will tell, but I will give a small spoiler. His part in this story is not over. The expedition stood in utter disbelief that Niante could discard the Holy Grail, humanity's most powerful artifact, into the Fern Sea's depths. Ailey gently comforted her mentor as they devised a plan. While plotting their route, the All-Mother Priestess begged them to abandon the quest, insisting it meant certain death. Yet the second expedition, driven by humanity's survival, felt compelled to at least try. Niante's pleas eventually faltered, and she withdrew to her tasks, hoping to bury her fears and grief. Pressing onward, they broke the Forest of Whispers tree line, and saw that the Four-Dweller champion, the stalker who had been chasing them, was now clearly visible. It had trailed them, piecing together their grail-seeking intentions. Terrified, they sprinted in desperation. No one, as far as they knew, has killed a Four-Dweller in centuries. Outrunning the hunter, unlike the wounded first expedition, they were able to outpace it. Constantly moving, they beelined past the tombs of the Order to the Fern Sea. As far as your eyes can see, the ground is covered with waist-high ferns. There are no tracks or roads. Verdant plants grow too quickly, swallowing every inch of open land. Exchanging glances, none dared leap into the trap-laden maze. Deep within, the air thinned dangerously, suffocating explorers. Weirdness creatures prowled unpredictable paths, heightening the dread. Ferns and weirdness confounded the maps, forcing descent through the simplest path, sliding down a ravine. With labored breath, they grasped why so few returned. With mere minutes before suffocation, upward retreat seemed arduous or impossible to climb the steep ravine. Fanning out in panic, they sought alternate exits, or at least breathable pockets. Paths revealed monsters, corpses, or dead ends, until one opened to fresh air. Gasping, they sketched Fernsea's shifting layout, racing to locate the Grail before nightfall. Lunging back into the maze, they had to hurry, knowing they couldn't explore after dark, and there was no telling how much time they had before the Four-Dweller found them. For hours, the expedition cycled through the Fern Sea's deadly maze, scouring paths, surfacing for air, and then diving back in. They stumbled upon ruins of ancient inhabitants, including a bizarre guano statue and an alien world that slowly revealed its forgotten culture. To reach the deepest section, they faced a dire gamble. To go to the deepest reaches, someone would have to take the leap of faith and go without the promise of air. Drawing straws, one member ventured into the uncharted depths, discovering pillars and murals of the Age of Legends battles. Rotting animals and human corpses littered the ground until a cave emerged. This deep cavern looks older than Tuathan itself. Huge reliefs on its walls, depicting Fordweller rituals and gatherings, are visible in the daylight, seeping through long shafts in the ceiling. Only after a while, a faint glint of gold somewhere to the side catches your attention. You approach it. Your knees buckle. Before you, covered in cobwebs and dirt, a radiant cup rests on the floor of the cavern. You feel your heart skip a beat. You've made it. The Grail lies before you, discarded and forgotten. Just a single touch is enough for you to know that the artifact is real. Though made from some strange metal, golden color, yet opalescent like weird steel. It feels warm in your hands. You raise it in reverence to the light as grand visions fill your head. For a moment, you feel invincible. A hero of legend, destined to change the world. Barely escaping, the member collapsed as the remaining expeditioners hauled them up, the Holy Grail gleaming in their grasp. Hope surged through the expedition, their arduous quest crowned with the relic, a possible solution against Avalon's encroaching doom. Pausing to recover, the expedition debated the Holy Grail's fate. Morgaine and Lancelot had repeatedly stonewalled them, while the Round Table Knights, despite knowing how to investigate its location, never pursued the Grail. The three warring lords prioritized personal survival or dominance over humanity's salvation. Even the Pale Lady forbade bringing the Grail to her. Then a thought gripped them. If no one on Avalon could wield the relic to halt the fall, what if Tuathan's heart needed it? The first expedition took the Grail from there. Perhaps the second expedition needed to correct Arthur's Age of Legends mistakes in reshaping the heart. These ideas felt foreign. How would they know that? It was as if it was woven by another mind altogether, pulling them toward Tuathan's ancient Fordweller capital to heal its wounded core. All five sensed this destiny. The Grail's call was undeniable. Seeking guidance, they temporarily evaded the Fordweller hunter and returned to Niante's Forest of Whispers cabin. Ailey's presence warmed Niante's greeting, her relief palpable, assuming their survival meant failure. Preparing some consoling words, she paled as they revealed the true Holy Grail. A void opened in her heart. As they outlined their plan to return to Tuathan, Niante interrupted, torn between frustration at their recklessness to enter a death trap and maternal pleas to abandon the hopeless quest. Her emotion churned, a storm of fear and anguish for the expedition's fate. Niante's pleas failing to sway the expedition, she decided to just give up on trying. The priestess warned that Tuathan's mouth was a death trap, claiming Aubert, their navigator. Neve choked back grief at her friend's fate, stealing her emotions. Niante outlined some alternatives. Timberwall's hidden entrance was likely guarded after the first expedition's intrusion, so they could seek Orin, Merlin's last apprentice and kin in the southwest. Since fleeing Tuathan, Niante learned Orin knew the safest path. Urging haste to evade the Fordweller hunter, the expedition prepared to depart. Niante pulled Ailey aside, swallowing fear to express her pride in Ailey. She taught Ailey unshared rituals, bestowed a blessing, and declared her apprentice fully trained and her equal. Urged by Beor, Ailey waved a final goodbye, heart heavy. An inexplicable certainty washed over Ailey that she'd never see Niante again. Battling emotions, the expedition set out for Orin's home. Breaking the Forest of Whispers tree line, they confronted the Four-Dweller champion, blocking their path. Its relentless pursuit, a looming shadow over their quest to restore Avalon and save humanity. Catching the glint of the Grail in one of their packs, the Four-Dweller unsheathed its weapons. Using her newfound power, Ailey had complete faith in her companions. The healer uttered an incantation to entangle the Four-Dweller with vines for a brief moment. With fluidity, the Four-Dweller began untangling the roots, but not before Maggot unleashed a torrent of air-rippling elemental magic, tearing at the hunter's armor. Shocked by their friend's offensive actions, Beor and Erev nodded to each other as they charged the Four-Dweller. Hammer in hand, Beor landed a crushing blow to one of the Four-Dweller's arms. With a shriek only heard in their heads, the hunter staggered back before Erev landed a severe blow through the torn armor, sinking his scythe several inches deep into the Four-Dweller's chest. Attempting to end the fight, Neve had skirted the field in a dead sprint and then charged the hunter. With a screech of a hellion, she jumped and landed on the Four-Dweller's back, slashing with ferocity. Pulling Erev's scythe out with one hand, the Four-Dweller calmly dropped his hook and reached behind him to wrench Neve off his back. It was as though the critical blows were mere scratches. Throwing Neve several feet away, she landed in a heap. Using his 3 remaining arms, the Four-Dweller defended Erev and Beor's strikes. Somehow, with his knowledge of the weirdness, the Four-Dweller changed the course of the battle, pivoting and forcing Beor and Erev on their back feet with a few inhuman blows. He weaved a spell to toss Ailey and Maggot off their feet and be thrown against the trees of the Forest of Whispers. Neve jumped back into the fight, laughing like a madwoman as she loved the rush. Suddenly, though the expedition felt this was still a winnable fight for the Four-Dweller, he teleported dozens of feet away from the fight. As the expedition charged in their adrenaline, the Four-Dweller did it again and again, confusing them. Unsure how to proceed, the expedition regrouped and saw as the Four-Dweller slowly left the field. Not waiting for an explanation, they ran southwest while they caught a glimpse of the Four-Dweller walking towards the nearest cloud of weirdness. The journey to Orin, Merlin's last apprentice, proved extraordinarily long, spanning Avalon's opposite end from their position. They had ample time to tend their wounds from the Four-Dweller encounter while relighting menhirs en route. Gradually, they recognized Stampede's familiar flattened land. Not far from their estimated destination, they surveyed the vast expanse. Ailey noticed a ribbon fluttering on a mound. It was Niante's. Jogging closer, they confirmed a grave. Yvain's sword, its pommel distinctive, embedded in the soil. Ailey offered a prayer as Beor, Erev, and Neve stood in solemn silence, honoring the finest among them, whose journey ended here. Maggot smiled wryly, shaking his head. Yvain despised him, a sentiment reciprocated. Yet he selected Maggot, of all people, for the second expedition, despite all of their disagreements. If Yvain, a man of superior caliber, sacrificed himself for humanity, Maggot, a raving addict who betrayed friends who perished in the charred conclave's flames, resolved to make his flawed life's end profoundly meaningful. Though he valued himself little in life, perhaps his death could redeem him. Glancing across the serene plain, the expedition spotted the Four-Dweller hunter again. the same one from the Forest of Whispers a week prior. Its broken arm was healed. Armor was gleaming, pristine, as if unscathed. He almost seemed younger. Stalked once more, they bolted west, desperately seeking Orin's dwelling in the weirdness-infested wilds. Nightfall came quickly, and they had no luck in finding Orin. Abandoning the search to rest, they established watches, fearing an ambush from the champion. Sleep proved elusive until a violent crash shattered the night. Steel clanging against steel, thunderous thuds echoing, armor ripping with metallic screeches that made them wince. The distant combat boomed without voices or screams, raging for several minutes before silence fell. Breath held, weapons gripped. The expedition braced for an attack, but no one appeared. The unseen clash lingering as a foreboding riddle. No one dared investigate during the night. At dawn, Erev and Beor scouted the night's clash. One trail bore the Four-Dweller Hunter's limping footprints, severely wounded again. The other were giant boots, led toward Tuathan's mouth. Was this a Four-Dweller civil war? A guardian angel? Shrugging off the enigma, the expedition pursued their quest. Skirting society's fringes, they reached a place called Weird Edge. Not long ago, this old Cranog sat atop a miry lake. Now the weirdness coils above and below the wooden structure, and its bridge has become the last strand of reality, anchoring it to the human world. You know of only one person who could have carved out a living in pure weirdness: Orin, the last sorcerer of the island and the heir to Merlin's knowledge. Crossing the precarious bridge, wary of the weirdness abyss below, they steadied each other to avoid plummeting. At the entrance, the door creaked open, revealing Orin, a diminutive, aged man with piercing eyes. Irritated, he demanded their purpose, threatening to cast them into the weirdness. Unable to deceive Avalon's greatest archmage, the most powerful wizard alive with powers dating back to the homelands, they confessed. They were rejects of a greater expedition. No knights or heroes, just small folk, seeking hope for Avalon or at least their home. Pleading for guidance, they earned a begrudging sigh. Orin admitted them to a sanctuary of tomes, desks, and papers, but only one chair, which Orin quickly claimed. Inviting them to speak, he fixed on the expedition with a withering stare, his arcane legacy looming over them. Their first question was about his time in Tuathan. Uttering Tuathan's name, the expedition ignited Orin's fury. He roared, branding them fools, refusing responsibility for another doomed expedition. In 2 centuries, only he and one other survived Tuathan. Countless adventurers have perished. Trembling with rage, face flushed, he declared they'd die alone if they insisted on death. Calming with a heavy sigh, his eyes softened to compassion. The room fell silent as his face returned to a normal hue. Orin instead demanded they have to prove their worth for Avalon's sake. Confused, he explained that only an extraordinary deed would earn his aid. Frustrated, they cited the Four-Dweller Hunter on their backs and time scarcity. The Menhirs could die any day. Orin shrugged, mocking that reaching Tuathan's heart should dwarf a single hunter. If they were serious, that shouldn't deter them. At an impasse, they relented, proposing 2 crises. Lancelot, missing half of the Round Table Knights, struggled to aid the villages, fearing chivalry's collapse. Secondly, elders around Avalon sought a House of Commons to uproot corruption from Camelot's court. Orin deemed either sufficient, urging them to act. As they pressed for guidance as to what to do next, he erupted, kicking and shouting at them, slamming the door in their face. Left to prove their heroism, the expedition had to face Avalon's trials alone. Suddenly, the door reopened. Orin hurled a small book at Maggot, barking that it refined Merlin's flawed menhir rites for greater efficiency before locking them out again. Now, truly on their own, they had to decide what to do next. There wasn't time for this, was there? Surely solving such a gigantic issue would take too much effort. Couldn't they do this after Tuatha? Or did Orin know more than he let on? In the next one, we will be going over the journey of the second expedition and what happened with the Holy Grail. But for now, please like and subscribe, and join our Discord for random polls and Tainted Grail chats. Also do want to say I did something new with the music. Tell me what you think about it. Maybe it works better. Maybe you prefer how I did it before. I would like to know. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will be seeing you guys in the next one. So yeah, see you later. Bye-bye.